or there's been one lately with this cat and like a Siberian husky, and the bear comes to the window and the cat turns. I don't know. I know, Scott, I'm losing you on this, I can tell, but it's fake. It's AI, and I don't like it because I can't trust it. And speaking of AI, on a very serious note, buy up all the old books you can. With AI, I don't trust any, see it, again, I'm getting old, I don't trust any of the audio books or any of the digital books because people could edit it at any time. I love this meme. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It says, I like to read old books because I'd rather learn from those who built civilization than those who tore it down. So buy up all your old books because they're valuable. How do we determine value? How do you assess when something is valuable? We look at it and we say, is it worth it? Is it something that we can utilize? Is it practical? Will it last? What can we get out of it? The ability to assess value is 100% subjective. All right? You know the difference between objective and subjective. Objective, it's based in reality. It doesn't depend on your opinion, right? It's 2 plus 2 is always 4. Doesn't matter what you think of it. Unless your name is Winston, then you're going to say it's what? 5. Where's the Orwell fans out there today, right? 2 plus 2 is 5. Go read 1984. So anyway, subjective is based on your opinion. And I'm going to give you an excellent example of something that would be priceless to me but useless to you. For example, well, come on, picture. There we go. My favorite bookmarker. It's from the Savoy. Best trip in the world we had. We were at London. And on your nightstand, they have like a little welcome package. And it's just made from cardstock. Probably cost them about 3 cents. Backside has a little bit of history on the hotel. First hotel in England to generate their own electricity. They sold it off and blah, blah, blah. But I love that bookmarker. And although it probably didn't cost them 3 cents, if you were to offer me $100, if we were reading at a coffee shop, you said, Craig, I'll give you $100 for that, I wouldn't take it. The spatula, little burn mark from on the grill, the rivets are loose. This is older than many of you in this room. This is a gift from my mom at our wedding shower when Tammy and I, as teenagers, got married. In fact, it's the only thing I remember left that I have in this world from my mom, right? It's impossible to calculate I could go as far as say thousands of pounds of burgers I have grilled. You know, last year I kept track. We went through 400 pounds of charcoal last year grilling. There's no telling how many burgers I have grilled with that. But if you went down to like Habitat for Humanity or Goodwill, something like that would be in a pile for like 50 cents. And I'm telling you what, if you offered me $500 for that, I wouldn't take it. Subjective. To me, it's valuable. To you, that's something that you would probably, like if I died and you were cleaning out my house, you'd say like, look at this thing. It's like loose, it's janky, you would throw it away. And then my favorite coffee mug. On the front it says Craig, and on the back it's stamped and it says Ryder. But on the bottom, what you can't see, is a loving, endearing message from my wife. She made that in pottery probably 15 years ago. What do you think? Yeah, I bet maybe more than 15 years ago. It's my favorite coffee mug. And I thought about like show and tell at school, bringing this and showing them to you, but you guys have rowdy kids and I couldn't risk having that broken, right? It's all subjective. Listen to me, I'm going somewhere with this. Our place, our sense, our direction of value is subjective, and this applies to people who are old. Our view of the aged, our view of the elderly. And in society, we are taught to ignore to neglect, to discard people like an old item. Do you know over in Asia, where people don't have as many children as some parts of the world, they rent out young people to go into the nursing homes to sit with the old people because no one comes to visit them. And so you can make a career out of that, where you just go and you sit with an elderly person and you let them tell you their life story, which I guarantee they will repeat before the day is over, right? All right. But in our society, we've lost the ability to respect, to give dignity, to show appreciation. And we shy away. We shy away from old age. Why? Any John Cougar Mellencamp fans? Remember the Authority song? He says, I called my preacher, said, give me strength for round 5. He said, you don't need strength. You need to grow up, son. He said, growing up leads to growing old and then to dying. And dying, that doesn't sound like so much fun. I fought Authority, but guess what? Authority won, right? We shy away from it, and we lose appreciation for the people who have blazed a trail for us in our faith, for our spiritual growth, for so much in this world, because we are so focused on youth and chasing youth and staying young and being young. I blame it on Hollywood and TV advertisement. I think before Hollywood, I think before the advertisement craze that has taken over, I think people have more appreciation for the wisdom of the ages. But face it, over the last 100 years, culture has shifted our subjective view of value, and we're away from a perspective. I'll give you one more John Cougar Mellencamp reference. And I'm not that big of a fan, but I mean, he does have some good stuff. But to the point, Jack and Diane, right? What's he say? What's the famous line in there? Let it rock, let it roll, let the Bible belt come down, save my soul. Hold on to what? Louder, Carla, they couldn't hear you up front.
16
Hold on to 16 as long as you can, right? Changes come around real soon, make us women and men. Give us the beat, Mike. There we go. All right, right? The race to stay young is futile. Psalm chapter 90. The years, listen, the years of our life are 70, or even if by reason of strength, 80, right? You might live 70, you might be strong, you might live to be 80, but the span is but toil and trouble, and they're soon gone and they fly away. We fly away. Who considers the power of your anger? He's talking to God. And the wrath according to the fear of you. So listen, because life is short, teach us to number our days so that we may get a heart of wisdom. You better realize no matter whether you're 60, 70, 80, or 85 like Betty, your days, right? Life is short. And we need to be able to recognize the brevity of this time on earth if we want to grow in our wisdom. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 29. The glory of young men is their strength, but the splendor of old men is their gray hair. Yeah, there's something about being young and strong, but there's something even more valuable about growing old. And then Proverbs 31, talking about the wonderful wife, the godly wife. At the end of that chapter, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Beauty, skin deep, beauty, lasting, fading, fleeting, whatever. There's something more important, and that's the character, the person within. I like to read a lot, and there are a lot of great books about the twilight years of life. You know, Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of death, you know, grieving and all that, coming to acceptance and all that. And one of the common threads I read when I read about end-of-life things are that most people, broadly speaking, carry less regrets about their mistakes in their final days. They don't complain or worry so much about the things they've done wrong as much as they regret the things they didn't do. The opportunities that they let slip past them. The idea that I wish I would have done more. You know, we fear death long before we come to death. But in that fear, we also highly underestimate what we can do regardless of our age. Anybody remember Grandma Moses? Betty's smiling. She's one of the first primitive artists that's out there. I'm going to come to Grandma Moses because I want to start from the other side of the ledger and work my way up. Julia Childs, if you were a child of the 70s, you remember a glass of wine in her hand, cooking, right? She didn't go to culinary school till she was in her 30s, and she didn't get her TV show until she was in her 50s. Ray Kroc, by the way, Michael Keaton's movie on Ray Kroc from McDonald's was really super good. Ray Kroc didn't take over McDonald's until he was 50. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but my mom got to meet Ray Kroc when she worked at McDonald's, and so she talked about that long after it was like, okay, Mom, we got you. I met Ray Kroc. Okay, we got you, right? All right. How about anybody like Kentucky Fried Chicken? Who does? You can't be American if you don't like KFC. I think Colonel Sanders was 60-something when he first started KFC. Betty, you're a big reader. I know you guys like to read. Anybody ever read? Creston's like, you got to read safety manuals, right?
I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly. Anybody ever read Angela's Ashes? Thank you, Betty. Better than the movie. If you saw the movie, which was pretty good, it's Frank McCourt's memoir. He didn't publish it until he was 66. He was a school teacher and no one knew about him. 66 when he published Angela's Ashes. All right. Scott might be old enough. Kellen and Creston, you guys aren't. Talis, you're definitely not old enough. Little House on the Prairie, remember that show? Oh, you do remember that.
People talk about
it. You heard the old people talking about it. She was in her 60s. Laura Ingalls Wilder was in her 60s when she wrote Little House on the Prairie. Grandma Moses, she didn't start painting until she was 75. Never picked up a paintbrush till she was 75. Wasn't recognized as an artist until she was 77 or 78. She's got paintings at the Smithsonian. She's one of the most famous American artists. Talis, I bet when you were in college you had to write a paper. And knowing you, I bet you used a thesaurus. Didn't you? Yeah. What's another word for thesaurus, right? That's the shortcoming of the thesaurus, right? That's a joke, right? Carla gets it. She's like closing her eyes in disgust, but she gets it. Roget, I guess that's probably the French way of saying Roget's thesaurus. He didn't publish it until he was 76. 76. And that was his one-hit wonder. All right? Clara Peeler. She was a manicurist. She didn't get her big break till she was 81. Again, this is before your time. Where's the beef? You remember that lady? Yeah, and she actually ended up she got slots in other movies. 81 before she got her big break. And then I'll finish up with Harry Bernstein. Children's author. Didn't get published till he was 96. 96. We underestimate what we can do, but in reality, it's more about who we are than what we can do. It's appreciation of the character more than of the accomplishments. I don't have any problem with trying to be healthy. I try to eat good. We take supplements. Try to take care of myself. You can maybe postpone for a little while death, but you cannot prevent the inevitable. You might postpone it, but you can't prevent it. Have you noticed on social media, in the news, with almost a biblical perspective, the amount of celebrities now that are coming out saying, I embrace my age? Stevie Nicks said that all people who have plastic surgery look like they're part of a satanic cult. I guess there is something to that. I don't know. Meryl Streep, she says, I'm not going to dye my hair. I'm not going to do anything different. The woman that was in Groundhog Day, Annie McFarland or whatever? McDowell. Thank you, Carla. Annie McDowell, she's all gray now, and she's like, this is me. Take it or leave it. And there are a host of other celebrities that are like, you know what? Why fight it? Let's embrace it. Marion, whatever her name is, she's been in 1923. She was in Mobland. She's in a bunch of movies. The British actress. She's another one. She's like, we're aging, and this is the way it is, and we're not going to try to hide it. We're going to celebrate it. Speaking of, you might postpone it, but you can't prevent the inevitable. Let me throw a name out there. Peter Attia. He's got a book out there called Outlive. It's very good. Up until Joe Rogan became like number one, I think his podcast was number one for a long time. He has a lot to say, but he says that we as a people have a misdirected focus. He says we focus on lifespan, right? He's a longevity expert, talking about living healthy and living longer. He says don't look at lifespan, look at health span, being healthier longer. He said it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're in miserable, bad condition, that's not quality of life. He said, so focus on health span. He's got a lot of great advice. Which brings me to the passage that I want us to really look at today, because there's no expiration date in the kingdom. There's no shelf life for in the kingdom. Psalm 92, the chapter starts off with, when I get up in the morning, I'm thankful. When I go to bed at night, I'm thankful. All of this praise and worship of God. And then as the chapter concludes, the psalmist says, the righteous flourish like the palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Two metaphors for being rooted and vibrant and thriving in weird conditions, right? So the palm tree you think of in the desert in their day and age, and you think of it by an oasis, right? Hidden water, rare water, and there it is. It's flourishing. And then the cedars of Lebanon, which, if you look through the building of the temple and of Solomon's house and all that, how important and how vital. But it's a strong tree. It's a tree that doesn't succumb to rot or to bugs or other problems. And so it's an enduring, long hardwood. And so the righteous people, they flourish like the palm. They grow like the cedar. They are planted, rooted, stable in the house of the Lord. Well, we don't have a temple anymore, but that's the idea of being constantly in the presence of God, right? They flourish in the courts of our God. And notice it doesn't say they bore fruit when they were in their prime. It's not past tense. Listen to me. It's not something that happened a long time ago and is over with. It says they still bear fruit in old age. They are full of sap, which, by the way, in the Hebrew, the word sap is literally fat. So that was a sign of health and vitality, right? In a culture that had struggled with malnutrition and poverty, right? To be fat was a sign of wealth and of health. So they're ever full of sap and green. To do what? What's part of the fruit that they bear? To declare that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in Him. No shelf life on dedication. So in our twilight years, when beauty fades, when physical strength drains away, when your quick-witted brilliance is a little bit duller than it used to be, right? When you slow down, what use are you? What good are you to the rest of us? What good could you possibly be when all of the beauty and brains and brawn and all that just kind of drains away? Well, more than you realize. Number one, your example. An example of endurance in a disposable culture. I don't think a week goes by when I'm driving to a job site to pump concrete that I don't see a big screen TV out on the curb. Think about 15, 20 years ago when a big screen TV with a projection in the back was probably $2,500, right? Now, you go to Walmart, a TV this size, it's like $200, $300, right? We just throw everything away. Older people that follow this path of bearing fruit in their old age give us an example of endurance, grit, integrity, in a world that needs to see that endurance pays off, right? In a world that everything is disposable. Face it, we have a culture of quitters. I think that's the easiest way to say it, right? I don't like it, I quit. I'm going to take my toys, I'm going home. I quit. Things get tough, I quit. I give up. Not the greatest generation, they never gave up. They didn't quit. And we need that example of endurance. That will be your lasting legacy. When the world says, "What good are you?" Your lasting legacy will be the example that inspires hope for the next generation because you didn't give up. What else good are you for? A wealth of wisdom. You can leave a lot of things behind to your kids and your grandkids. You can leave the boat behind. You can leave assets behind. But you know what's going to go to the grave with you that you can't leave behind and you need to start giving it out now? Your wisdom. I mean, that's what I'm giving away for Christmas this year, my opinion. I've already warned the kids. My opinion and random unsolicited advice. That's what you're getting this year. Tammy, you got the text. You can show them. That was my response to the Christmas thread this year. You get my opinion and my unsolicited advice. Now no one's coming. Great. It's my fault the kids didn't come. Tangible assets will rust, will disintegrate, will dissolve, but your wisdom is a priceless power that you can pass on at any given time. What else? What else is good in your later stages of life? Here's something that you don't think about when you're trying to establish your career, when you're trying to raise your family, when you're trying to pay bills and all that, is the blessing of discretionary time. You could spend more time reading the Psalms in your twilight years of life. You can spend more time mentoring younger people who really need it. And here's an overlooked, neglected component of the Christian faith that you can spend more time in, and that's prayer. You're not interrupted by the daily grind. And let me tell you something, this world needs your prayers. Probably now more than ever. It's great to volunteer, it's great to serve, but prayer is irreplaceable. So what else are you good for when you shouldn't be buying green bananas anymore? Not to sound morbid, but everyone comes to a point in time where we're just one or two beautiful sunsets away. You model faithfulness in a world that can't keep its commitments. We run a business. We've had a couple people bounce checks. They can't even pay you, right? We see people who say I do, but they don't. We see so much in this world that's the easy way out, the convenient way out. And the younger generation needs to know more about what trust and dependability is. So your modeling of faithfulness is absolutely essential. I remember when I first got into construction back in the 80s, and I remember being young and strong and doing stupid things. And I remember the old timers coming up to me, and they would say, "Oh, if I knew I was going to live to be this old, when I was your age, I would have what? Taken better care of myself." If I had $1 for every time I heard that, we could all go to a Brazilian steakhouse today. I'm telling you what, and it could be my treat, right? Everything that moves wears out. We usually put about $6,000 in maintenance a year in the pump just because things wear out and break. What's that have to do with old age? Old age is an excellent argument for the existence of God. The first law of thermodynamics is what? Matter can neither be created or destroyed. Thank you, Kellen. What's the second law of thermodynamics? The fancy word is entropy. Everything goes to a steady state. The coffee that's in my mug right now is still hot, but by the end of the day, it's going to be what? That's the second law of thermodynamics. Everything goes to a steady state. Everything wears out. You take, Creston, you're out at Partners. You guys are doing safety stuff, right? You take that scaffolding and you throw it down in a pile. What's it do? Does it assemble itself? No. If one of the contractors out there has a bucket of bolts and he throws it down, does it fit itself into the pipes out there? It rots and it rusts given enough time. That's entropy. It doesn't get more complex. It breaks down and falls apart. That is an argument for a creator. If entropy was what controlled the universe, things would not have come together. But now we live in a fallen universe and everything falls apart. And old age is a reflection of that. Man, my shoulder wakes me up in the middle of the night. Every night it's wore out. It hurts, you know. I should have took better care of myself. My knees pop when I walk up and down the stairs. My back hurts when I go to put my shoes on. Wait, this isn't group therapy. Hold on, I'm in the wrong group. Everything wears out, which means we had to have a creator. Things don't just come together and boom, happen. And age is one of the excellent, strongest examples of a creator. Let me finish with this. When we are physically frail, when we are fragile, when we're worn out, when we falter in our steps, when we worry about falling and breaking a hip, when all is in decline, mental, physical, everything, when you catch the same disease that I caught many years ago. I know HIPAA laws are probably going to be violated, but I caught furniture disease. It's where my chest fell down to my drawers. When that happens, Scott, don't look at me like that. It's true, man. I know it's hard to tell. I used to be a power lifter. I used to be somebody. I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender. When all of that falls apart, we can still declare what Paul talked about in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. Here's what remains. God said to him, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." Paul says, "Therefore I'll boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses, so the power of Christ may rest upon me." Accepting old age isn't the equivalent of admitting defeat, at least not in the light of eternity. Let's stand.